Okay, there we go. We're going to recording. Okay, let's start. So, any questions on anything? Covered a lot of ground in the last couple of weeks. Good, because today is the final exam, so no questions. Everyone should get an A+ on it. And we are going to start with our hypothetical questions of the day, primarily because they're fun. So here's the first one. First one is, yeah, you need important information from a coworker, but they're out of the office and unreachable. You're not supposed to access others' computers, but this coworker is a close friend and has shared their password with you in the past. When you log in, you discover that your coworker has been looking at customer credit card data, which is a serious violation of company policy. What would you do? I'll read it again. You need important information from a coworker, but they're out of the office and unreachable. You're not supposed to access others' computers, but this coworker is a close friend and has shared their password with you in the past. When you log in, you discover that your coworker has been looking at customer credit card data, which is a serious violation of company policy. What would you do? Oh, by the way, this is an essay question, so you have to write out your answers on the. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyone? Any takers?
I would first and foremost want to talk to the employee before I reported him or anything like that and say, am I misunderstanding something or, to get his input, I think.
Am I reading this credit card data wrong? Or
Well, that might be part of the question. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, what's the three-letter code on the back?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't see the column for the three-digit code.
Yeah.
That's his or her version of security. He didn't put the three digits in there. Good. Anyone else? Any other takers? I like that answer. So it's all in the phraseology, of course. You don't necessarily want to go in there and accuse the person, but you want to like, hey, I needed to know the color of the coffee maker, that we needed to buy, and I happened to see da da da. What's that all about? Or do you need that as a part of your workload? No takers. Okay, here's another one. Your friend tells you that they have committed a crime. They explain that they are having trouble sleeping at night and feel you are the only one they can trust with their confession. A few days later, you read in the paper that someone else has been arrested for your friend's crime. What would you do?
I would encourage my friend to step forward and do the right thing.
Mhm. Show them the article in the paper.
Hmm.
Say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah, hopefully there would be some sense of responsibility and ethics there.
Would you encourage him or her to do the right thing, or would you just say, "Hey, I found this article. What do you make of this?"
Hmm.
See what they say. Right? There's a slight difference.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's I like yours better. It's more neutral.
Yeah, I'm not accusing you of anything. I just say, "Hey, look what I found." Let them make their own decision.
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you learn to be more neutral after you have kids. When you realize that you're not neutral, and then you go, the only way I'm going to get my point across is by being neutral. Any
Mm.
other thoughts or comments on that one?
I thought I heard you say that he was not able or she was not able to sleep, was having difficulty.
Sure.
So I would talk about that and I would say, this is what I'm seeing. How could you put yourself at peace?
Mm. So we can trick them. No, I'm
Right.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I have the answer to your insomnia, and it looks like this in the New York Times. Yeah, no, that's good too. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, they're more likely to have peace of mind
Right.
uh, owning up to it, especially
And
if they already,
yeah, and he's the one that brought up that he was not at peace. Yeah.
right. So there is some sense of conscience there already.
Yeah.
So there's
Right.
some, yeah, I agree. I'm more likely to be optimistic in that scenario. Okay, very good. Everyone gets an A plus, even if you didn't answer, because I'm a very tough grader. Okay, next topic is we played or we've talked about this concept of the requirements game. That's where we all looked at, maybe we wrote them down, maybe we just had it in our mind about some of the things that we were learned or trained ourselves by watching adults as we grew up, and then other requirements that we picked up as we were an adult and started to learn how to live our lives. And
Where's Mimi?
and the and what we discovered after, if you made that list, is that whenever there's any type of negative emotion that arises, there is something on the list that has been violated either by you or someone else. And if it wasn't on your list, then the idea is you add it to the list, add it to the list, add it to the list, so that every single time you catch yourself annoyed, angry, irritated, what have you, you can say, gee, what's on my list that was being trampled on by me or by someone else? Didn't really matter. And then sometimes you'll see the lists are in conflict with each other. And then once you start doing that, and then to address the negative emotion you're feeling, you can take a few breaths, long, deep breaths, and calm yourself. The idea is to break the habit of being triggered by these things that you were trained to treat as golden fact, because nothing's factual. So in those scenarios, so we're trying to break that habit and be able to take care of ourselves so that one day we don't have anything on the list. That was a brief synopsis of that game. Has anyone had a chance to play that or notice or observe that in any way, shape, or form? Anyone? 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 Because I play that game all day.
Mm.
And so that by the third, fourth, 50th, 60th time that I check my list on something that bothers me or that interrupts me or triggers me, each little time later, it starts to fade in strength and power.
Hmm.
And it's directly related to purification, which we talked about last week. We'll talk about it again this week. The idea in life is to be free. Some people say, I want to be happy. I don't know what that means, but free of negative emotions, free of viewing the world as permanent, free of subject objectivity where there's me versus someone else. So we want to be free. And another defining way to look at that is have no list because things don't bother me. And if they bother me, it's like water off a duck's back. I know how to handle it. I don't get uptight about it. I don't get triggered or reactive. Or if I do, it's very short. I mean, the Dalai Lama still gets angry, but it's very short. And it's like boom, in and out. So if you're not doing that, I highly recommend it because just meditating once or twice a day is not enough, not in this world. Maybe never. I don't know what it was like 1,000, 2,000 years ago, but it's definitely not enough. We're walking around all day bombarded by things that trigger us. So that's kind of the silver lining behind, I assume, behind having the current government administration is we get to learn about what triggers us and why we feel so strongly about things that we accept or view as facts when they're really just opinions. So I highly, highly recommend you play some form of that game. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next topic. So last week, maybe in the last 2 weeks, we talked about what is our body made up of? It's made up of the five aggregates, one of which is the physical body, and then four other aggregates that are referred to as the mind stream. Four mental aggregates or thoughts and feelings that change all the time and they keep going. And the mind stream is the stream of these aggregates arising together moment after moment. There's a continuum there. And it's a cause and effect continuity of moments in which consciousness and other mental aggregates arise together and shape in subsequent moments, right? So, and we talked about the consciousness. There's three types: the gross consciousness, that's our senses, very aware when someone touch, smell, taste, that kind of thing. There's a subtle consciousness, which is really the awareness we have when we're in meditation, sometimes dreaming, or when we're dying. And that very, very subtle consciousness, which is the deepest level within that continuum. And that's the part of the mind stream within which karma is imprinted and conditions appear and unfold. So what does that mean? Karma, we talked about, that's action. Actions of body, speech, and mind. And what influences those actions, or when does that karma come to fruition? Comes into fruition as a result of causes and uh, and conditions. So that very subtle consciousness, it's the deepest level, and it's part of the mind stream, and that's where the karmic imprints, so to speak, and I'll talk more about that, are, I don't like to use the word stored. That sounds like it's something that is very material and concrete. It's not. And it's kind of like a memory. We have a memory. Well, where is it? Can you see it? Where am I remembering? Well, we know that part of the brain, but we don't go much further than that. And each sentient being possesses their own distinct mind stream. And even though our mind streams are independent of each other, they do interact. I talk to you, you talk to me, we do business, we socialize, whatever, we buy things in a store, we email. So even though they're independent, they do interact, but they're not merged. So our speech, our actions, our perceptions, they create causes and conditions. And all of our mind streams are independent, but they do interact. So from a Buddhist perspective, the only continuity that remains after we die is that very, very subtle consciousness. So your actions are like a memory of tendencies or habits in your deepest mind. We call them seeds, like seed, planting seeds that grow. They're not really seeds, but they're like seeds in that they can grow into experiences later, or get purified, or come to fruition, or get stale. So another analogy that I like the best out of everything I've read about it is that imagine light rays that go on and on and on forever. And there are patterns in the light waves. So that is the best analogy I've heard. Not that we're talking literally about light, that our very subtle consciousness is light, but it's not a substance. It is not a concrete. It is always changing. So the light would be your very subtle consciousness, and the patterns are the karmic seeds. Just an analogy. In reality, there is no substance. Another analogy I heard for very subtle consciousness is like a water stream flowing, flowing, flowing. And then if you put dye in that stream of water, the water itself is still clear, but while the dye is mixed in there, the water looks colored. The dye can be removed. The clarity was always there. So that's just another analogy of the very subtle consciousness. So it's just a form of awareness, a stream of moment to moment awareness. And the other analogy I heard is it's very similar to dreaming. So in dreaming, it's a mind generated environment when we go to sleep and we dream. It's a mind generated environment. And after we die in the afterlife or the bardo, um, that's where also it's a mind-generated reality. And why is that important? That's important because when we pray for people who have died, we want to influence where they go. Are they going to be liberated? Are they going to have an auspicious rebirth? And that very subtle consciousness of the deceased is what we are trying to imprint and create conditions that support that consciousness so that it is free from distraction and encourage it to move forward in a very positive way. Okay, we talked briefly about purification practices. So, purification practices don't magically erase what happened. If you got sick, or you broke your leg, or something happened, or there was an issue between you and someone else that created some negative karma, we can't erase that. What's done is done. But what we can do is we can work by changing the conditions under which karma ripens. So if we didn't do anything, then whatever karma we have created, at some point it will ripen. At some point, those consequences will happen. If I yell at you and I don't do anything about it, eventually someone's going to yell back at me. I'll find myself in a yelling environment and I'll continue to yell. I'll just keep that pattern going. There's no reason to stop. So, but if I want to do something about it, I can't take back the fact that I yelled at someone this morning. But we can work by changing the conditions under which karma ripens. So when I plant a seed in the ground, I'm growing a tree. What are the conditions under which that tree will ripen? Water, fertilizer, dirt, sun, wind, animals. I can change those conditions. I can improve them or I can degrade them. Same thing. What can I do? I can work by changing the conditions under which karma ripens. So there's nothing definite, there's no guarantee, no certainty that karma will ripen. If I yell at someone, there's no certainty when or if someone will yell back at me. But we want to reduce those probabilities and bring them as much as possible with negative karma to zero. So nothing is fixed. The only thing that's fixed is what's done in the past. But now we have an opportunity. Will it come back next week, next month, next year? I stole something. I was nasty to someone. I cheated on my taxes, whatever it is. Don't know when it'll come back, but we want to address the conditions that can support reducing that negative karma. So I built a house and I built it with rotting wood. I want to replace those foundations to the house. And purification can weaken or dismantle those conditions. Any questions before I get into the steps of purification? Because I'm going to go a little bit deeper than we went last time. Okay, if there is, just take yourself off mute and jump right in there. So one of the first solutions is, hey, you have negative karma, just go start. I've had accumulated so much negative karma in my life, I don't know what to do. I don't even remember all of it. No problem. Start where, as Pema Chodron would say, start where you are now. And one way to do it is just start creating positive karma. And over time, that will dilute the negative karma. Very simple. Start doing positive things, and over time, if you do a lot more positive and negative, you'll have a lot more positive karma. Great. And we talk about karma as if it's a tangible thing. It's not. It's a tendency. It's a memory. It's a habit. So we want to break a habit. You know what? I can go, I smoke every day. I can either quit smoking or maybe I can just smoke less or smoke a better kind of cigarette that's not as harmful. Probably not a great analogy, but it's simple math is dilution. The next thing that we can do is something called purification. And Tibetan Buddhism is very big on purification in that many of us have a daily practice. And part of that daily practice includes purification practice, where we use a visualization of a meditational deity. You don't have to use meditational deity. You can, if you're big on Jesus Christ or Abraham or Moses or other great saints from any religion, you can use them as well. There's nothing, we use one called Vajrasattva. And if you're interested in that, then certainly you can read about it, familiarize yourself with their characteristics, what they look like, or you can select another higher being that you feel closer to. And then once you do that, then you want to familiarize yourself with the mantra. Mantra has some power to it. It connects the sound, the mind, the body together with the visualization. So, and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but become familiar with the mantra. You don't want to sit down and just like start chanting the mantra. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, at the right pace, that kind of thing. And then once you're seated, then what we do is we recite a refuge prayer. Taking refuge means I'm going to identify the things that I can absolutely rely on for my freedom and my spiritual path. So what do we typically rely on? We typically rely on alcohol, drugs, entertainment, sex, distractions, TV, food. These are some of these things, nothing wrong with them, unless you start to rely on them for your happiness or freedom. So we take refuge, taking refuge in the deity that you've selected. So most of us take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha, you know who that is. The Dharma are his teachings, and the Sangha are all the teachers and the community. But it doesn't have to be that. You want to take refuge, you can take refuge, like I said, in Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, whatever it is that's important to you, that's a higher being that shows that I can rely on that person. That person can be a guide that I can commit to, real or at once real, or it could be a meditational deity. So we recite a refuge prayer. That's step one. Step two, we can visualize that deity over our head, usually about 1 or 2 feet above our head in a seated position. You can use an actual image in front of you to help you visualize that. Doesn't even have to be that detailed. It can just be that person's shape of the body and dissolved light. If you want to get into the details, great, but it doesn't have to be. So when we take refuge, we're basically saying, going back to step one, that deity is my guide committed to helping me. When I start to visualize the image, that helps stabilize my concentration, align my mind with them. So if I want to be like Michael Jordan, basketball player, I want to start doing things like he does. I want to understand all those positive characteristics that he has. And I want to start to immerse myself in that mind. In this case, we're looking at enlightened characteristics, generosity, calm, compassion, things like that. Even though those enlightened characteristics are already a part of us, they're not separate from us. We want to make that connection. We want to make that connection strong. This third thing we do is we confess. We confess and say, hey, yesterday I yelled at my coworker. I yelled at someone when I was in the car in traffic, or whatever it was. And these are things that you can speak out loud in your mind. I prefer speaking it out loud if you can. And we get as specific as possible. What's going on here? Karma depends on identifying and connecting to the act you committed. The act I committed with very strong intention was A, B, C, D, E yesterday. Well, I want to identify that very specifically. We want to be in reality. Because what happens when we're not in reality? Well, I did kind of yell, but he did kind of have it coming. I don't really think I was that loud. We can start to rationalize away what really happened. It wasn't as long as they make it out to be. We can kind of cheat our way through it. No, that doesn't work. We have to be we don't have any illusions. So we identify and connect to the act we committed before and say, this is what I did. The next step is we express regret. We're not feeling guilty. We regret it. That loosens the karma. When we confess, when we express regret, karma loses its strength and traction. What makes karma so strong from that act I did yesterday? My strong intention. How do we weaken it? By confessing and by expressing regret, recognizing the harm that we've done. That prevents the reinforcement of the karmic imprint. It prevents denial, rationalization, things like that. Then you commit that you will never do that again. Everything I'm saying, by the way, happens in about 2 minutes. It sounds long, but it's fast. Maybe it's fast for me. Everyone else, they probably take their time. Anyways, you commit that you will never do that again. What is that doing? It's diluting the negative karma. Think about it. There's some tendency out there that makes me angry. I've done it a lot. I've habituated. I've done it over and over and over again. I've raised my tone. By doing all of these things, I'm starting to break down that karma, to dilute it and weaken it. And then I start reciting the mantra. And as you recite the mantra, you can visualize white light flowing from the deity into the crown of your head and throughout your body. The light is dissolving negativities. Karma is being purified. And then you can visualize that karma, that essence, dark, negative karma leaving your body through the bottom of it's called the lower doors, through the bottom part of your butt and going into the ground. We're generating virtuous karma by reciting the mantra. It's like introducing an antidote similar to a chemical reaction, weakens, delays, or eliminates the negative karma. And then you commit that you're going to create positive karma going forward. And going forward, when I create positive karma, I am going to dedicate that to help other beings. So, psychologically, forget about Buddhism for a moment. Psychologically, because I know we have a couple of psychologists on the phone, we are rewiring our neural and emotional conditioning. We're breaking our negative habit. That's what we're doing. From a Buddhist perspective, we're removing and weakening any supportive conditions, and that purifies the subtle karmic imprints in our consciousness. So we have these memories, we have these tendencies in our level of our consciousness, that very subtle consciousness. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to weaken them, delay them, purify them, make them disappear, fade, by using these antidotes that immediately oppose that original intention and hopefully break the pattern. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, questions? And I've been rambling on for quite a bit.
Morning. My husband has dementia.
Mhm.
One of the things that they've told me is because a lot of times there could be resistance from him, or there are things that he doesn't want to do that he needs to do. And, however, they said, lie to him.
Mhm.
And I have a problem with that. They said, it's not like you're doing something bad, but I'm thinking about karma. What is it that I am then creating by lying to him about things?
Mhm. So there's an expression, I had a teacher who used to tell me, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
I want to be happy.
Right, me too. So, but some of us have a very, very strong sense about lying. Lying is bad, lying is wrong, et cetera, et cetera. But, if you were, in Germany in 1942 and you were hiding some Jewish children under the floorboards and a Nazi comes in and says, are there any Jews here? And you go, no, I haven't seen any Jews. I think we would all agree that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. because our intention is selfless. And to me, this is a similar example.
Mm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions on purification or anything else?
I see that in the book, but you've added, do you have that written out?
I don't, but the good news is I am recording this session as we speak, and I'll
Okay.
post it on YouTube tomorrow. Yeah, no, I
Okay.
went into more, pretty much on every topic. I think I go into a little more detail in these classes. If I didn't, why attend? Just read the book. So yeah, I think that would be helpful because there's a lot of information. Good.
You know, I just want to say something real quick to
Mhm.
Lorraine because Lorraine, my husband and I have worked in senior care for 20 years, and I did a lot of work with dementia and ran a dementia community, and really, you know, they call it therapeutic lying, and really, it's a kindness. It's a kindness, and so really, you are, as Morty said, you're really pulling from a higher value than honesty because when the brain cannot function in a rational way, to be honest, really sometimes it feels torturous to them. And you end up both of you going in loops, which is painful. So
Mhm.
sometimes the lying is really it's a kindness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate that.
Mhm,
Thank you.
mhm. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So what if I don't believe in rebirth? My answer to that is two answers. One is I encourage you to do the research. Maybe I mentioned this in this class or another class, watch the videos, watch the great Tibetan lamas speak about it, watch the children retell their stories of what they remembered from the past, lives, things like that from the University of Virginia. And then after that, just be open to the possibility. And if you still don't believe, that's okay. But things like that, which are hard to digest, you don't have to digest them. You just might be open to it. That's all. I wouldn't force it. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it other than doing your research. And once you've done your research, you say, hey, yeah, I still don't go there. No problem. Perfect. But at least you're open to the possibilities. That's the only suggestion that I have for that. Um, it doesn't necessarily change how you might lead your life. We always want to lead our lives ethically, creating as little negative karma as possible, um, and positive karma. So that's the bottom line there is how am I going to live my life now? And if you believe in rebirth, you're reborn, great. If you don't, you're not reborn, that's okay too. We just want to be at least free right now, sense of freedom. Okay, one more topic, and then we'll talk briefly about these couple of videos that some of you may have watched. Topic that we have in the book is collective karma. So karma is an individualistic thing. We believe in free will, so every person gets to make their own decisions. But sometimes, like in Nazi Germany and many other countries over history, a group of people make the same decision. Um, but it's not really a shared moral account. We all have independent mind streams that, of course, interact with each other and impact each other and affect each other. So, yes, there is collective karma there, but at the end of the day, we each have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. But like I said, they're interdependent causal networks, right? Our mind streams are always interacting. So, I want to put that in perspective. Okay. So somewhere in the book, I don't remember where we have this thing like what's karma got to do with it? And the answer is everything. Um, we can't change the past. We have no idea what the future will bring, but we can live in the present moment. We can reduce or eliminate our negative karma. We can stop doing negative karma. We can change our tendencies. to hold on to illusory thoughts or opinions and view them as facts. We can reverse habits that we've developed. We know how to purify them. We have all these wonderful tools. We just have to apply them. And our backstory is irrelevant. Um, it's all about what can I do now? Can't change the past. And Lama Lanang, I have a quote here. The Buddha can't wash away your karma. He can't take it away. You created your karma. You have to work on it yourself. So next week, Lama Lanang will join us and probably speak for a little bit and then answer any and all questions on karma or anything related to Tibetan Buddhism, politics, anything you want to ask him. He'll be here next week. I would encourage you to come, bring your questions, even if it's the same questions you asked me, not a problem. Because he might say something different. And I think it's good to hear his perspective, more important than mine. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was I sent out 2 links to 2 different videos on Instagram. And did anyone get a chance to watch them? Okay, a few people, good. So there are one link was a guy who wrote a book, children's book, went to 27 publishers, got always rejected. And then before his last rejection, he vowed if he got rejected one more time, he was going to burn his publication, his draft. And that's in fact what happened. He went to his 27th publisher, got rejected. He's walking home, it's a true story, walking home, I think it was in Manhattan, bumps into a friend. Says, hey, what are you doing? What's that under your arm? He had the manuscript under his arm. So I'm trying to get this published, not going anywhere. He was on his way home to burn it because he was done with the rejections. His old friend says, I work for a publisher. Why don't I take it and see what they say? Took it to his publisher. The next day, got a call. They were going to publish it. Who is the author? The person who wrote all the Dr. Seuss books. So what did you think of that story?
I loved it.
How do you
Great
think,
story.
how does that work? That's kind of crazy.
Well, he had some good karma coming his way and shared karma with the publisher and with the world. I mean, my God, talk about the causal web. What he contributed to the world is tremendous.
Talk about the causal web, yeah.
And I think, sometimes I think the world cooperates, with something that it wants to have come forth. And I think Theodore Geisel was the beneficiary of that, and we all are.
And boy, did he have to have strong intention, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. His intention, he continued. And then at the point where he said, I let go, because letting go was, I'm just going to burn this, was when it manifested for him.
Strong intention. You never know where it goes. I mean, we could say all the bad things we want about our current president, but boy, does that guy have strong intention.
Mm.
You got to give him respect for that. Yeah, so I found that story fascinating. The other story with Heidi and Ed. That was crazy. So Heidi and Ed, the way they tell the story in the Instagram post is, I guess they went to the same university, but not at the same time. So he moved into what was her apartment, and he couldn't figure out how to use the washing machine. So he called up the prior tenant, who was this woman named Heidi. How do you do this? She explained to him how to do it. They met and they went, I guess got engaged or married for a number of years. And then while they were at Heidi's mother's home, Heidi's mother told a story about, there was another guy when Heidi was 6 years old. We went to Turkey. And my daughter hung out with this. She was 6 years old. And they played together for 2 weeks like two peas in a pod. And she had showed some pictures, said, hey, here they are here. You know what these people look like. And I thought maybe it's you, Ed. And, nah, it's not me. Heidi's mother talks to Ed's mother, shows the same pictures. Ed's mother has her own pictures. And lo and behold, these two people knew each other like two peas in a pod when they were 6 years old in the country of Turkey for 2 weeks. And then many, many, many years later, that's how they met. and got married. You think of that story? Crazy story.
Pretty fun though. Karmic links.
Yeah.
Talk about the causal web, right?
Mhm.
Unbelievable.
It also makes you wonder as kids what their intention was. Did they talk about, I always want to see you, or, what was it that kept that connection
Mhm.
there? There was something for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. My guess, it's only a guess, is that there was some connection from a prior lifetime
Mm,
that brought them
mhm,
together.
mhm.
And that connection was so strong that it brought them together again 15, 20 years later.
Can I
Sweet.
share something?
Sorry?
Um, can I share something?
Sure, of course. Of
Okay.
course.
So my husband, I met him on AOL
Mhm.
we're married 26 years. So that was 27 years ago.
Mm.
AOL started this dating thing, and that's how I met him. When I met him, I found out that one of the students that was supervising was his cousin. And then he lived in the same area as my cousin. And where he was at now, growing up, he lived in the same area. They knew each other, they went to the same schools. And then my son lived in the same area in Queens that he was at.
Okay.
And I was like, there must have been a reason for this. I mean, there's three things there. I, you know,
A lot of connections.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, has anybody read the book The Years of Rice and Salt by
No.
Kim Stanley Robinson? It's about a pod of humans that reincarnate through different epochs of history. And
Mm,
it's very fascinating. And they take on different aspects and they learn different things and they carry their karmic tendencies forward. And, it's a fascinating book. Yes.
mm,
Very Buddhist.
So okay, I'll share another story that happened just recently. I think I recommended the movie called I Origins. That sound familiar?
Yeah, you did.
So that movie is if I didn't mention it, you're never going to watch that. It's like one out of a billion movies that are on Netflix or wherever it's playing. It's very obscure. It never really went anywhere. And last week I was on a Zoom call where someone had to share their screen with me. And on his screen, you know how you have articles, you're reading an article in the New York Times or whatever, and up in the right corner is an ad for something. So on his screen, it was some ad for iOrigins. And I said to him, we had our business call, 30, 40 minutes go by. And I said to him, hey, have you seen that movie? Or I don't know if it was an ad or it was just something. It could have been an ad. I don't really know. It was fast. I said, hey, Alfred, have you ever seen the movie iOrigins? He goes, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, it was on your screen when we first came on the call. I said, it's a movie. Have you seen it? It's about whatever it's about. He goes, I've never seen it. And I have a good relationship with him. And I'm on my business computer, so I'm not surfing, looking at movies or anything like that. I said, have you ever heard of it? He goes, no, I never heard of it. I said, well, it was on your screen. He goes, I don't remember seeing it there. That's all I got to say about that. Anyways, on that happy and funky note, any questions, comments before we okay. So next week, same time, same place, last meeting. Um, Lama Lanang will join us. Please bring your questions, or if not, no questions, and please come anyways and enjoy other people's questions. And there's always a couple of stories, which I'm sure he'll share, especially about karma, which make life interesting. And as usual, if you have any questions between now and then, always email us and we're happy to respond. And yeah, that's about that.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you, Morty.
ladies and gentlemen, good to see everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Morty.
All right, take care. And
Morty.
I'm going to put this on the internet by tomorrow morning.
What is your next class?
I am debating. I'm having a debate. Well, I'm debating with myself, which means either we can both win or both lose.
Mm.
It's either about the Tibetan Book of the Dead or it's about a new book that I wrote called The Magic and Power of Buddhist Prayers.
Mm,
So I'm not sure yet.
okay,
Morty,
thank you.
I have
Okay.
one question. And,
Sure.
I've been reading Preparing to Die by Halachek, and I've gone online to get a glossary of terms, and several things are not defined.
Hmm.
Do you have a resource or a book I might order that would give me a more complete definition of some of the things they talk about?
I do not, but the same way there is something called Wikipedia, there is a Wikipedia just about Buddhist terms, phrases, things like that. So I forgot what it's called, but I'll look it up and I'll email it to you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good to see everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Have a good
All
weekend.
right. Good night.
Everybody, bye-bye.
Bye.